Maybe you have already thought about the fact that writing your entire code inside the begin play or tick code block would be insane. And you are right, but maybe you also asked yourself, what even are begin, play and tick? That's why we check out methods today. I will leave out some information for now because some parts of methods are closely linked to classes. Therefore, I will mention those things when I will talk about classes in more detail. For this video, methods consists of 3 parts: the return type, the name of the method, and the argument list. Methods are basically there to make code reusable, and that also means to execute code that has some sort of result. The return type indicates if and what type of value the method will return. These can be all data types you know, or void. Void is indicating that this method will return nothing. For the name, you should use Pascal case. So start with an uppercase letter, and each starting letter of a new word should also be uppercase. For the arguments, you have to provide a list of arguments that you want to use in the method. That can be 0 arguments, 1 argument, 2 arguments, and so on. When declaring the method, you have to provide a data type and a name for each argument. This is a declaration of a method. That is usually done in a header file, and then in a CPP file you implement a method. There, in front of the name of the method, you also have to indicate of which class this method is part of. But let's look at a few examples. Let's say you want to create a method that logs the value of a number that we pass into the method. First, we go to the header file and declare our own method. For this, we will not have a return type since we log the value of the number, but don't make any further calculations that return some sort of result. So we will use void as the return type. As the name, we will use log number value, and lastly, the argument we take in is an integer that we want to log the value of. Now we have declared the method, and this is our method header. Next, we have to implement its functionality. For that, we go into the CPP file. Here, we use the same method header like defined in the header file, except that we also have to define the class that this method is part of. So in my case, a coding fundamentals actor. Then, for the code, it is a simple log statement that just logs the value of the integer that gets passed in. Now we have declared our method and also implemented its functionality. So let's use our method. For example, we can go up to our begin play method and add multiple calls to our newly created method. And we can also provide different values for the argument. As you can see in the log, we have multiple log statements with those different values, showing that methods allow the reuse of code. Next, let's implement an addition method. Now we want to add 2 numbers together and return the result. Think a bit about what you would write in the code now. First, like said, we want to return the result. Therefore, our return type will be an integer, since for now we will just add 2 integers together. Then, as a name, we can call it add numbers and provide the arguments. Since, like mentioned before, we want to add 2 numbers together, we have to provide those values, 1 integer a and 1 integer b. Next, in the CPP file, we add the implementation again. Here we can just write return a plus b. The return keyword basically indicates that the value that follows after it will be returned by the method when it gets called. We could have also written it like this: integer result equals a plus b, and then return result. These 2 code blocks basically lead to the same end state, but obviously in the one section we have one more step in between. If you have code after a return statement, it will not be executed, because the return statement also indicates that now we jump out of the method. So if we ever reach a return statement, then it means also that we leave the method. So now in code in begin play again, we can declare 2 variables, integer x and y, and then a new variable that stores the return value of our new method. Like you see here, we use different names, for example x and y instead of a and b, and that's completely fine. The names don't have to correlate. The names that you declare in the method header are just used inside the method code block. Next, what we can also use is our previously created method to log this result. Obviously, you would not replace the plus operator with a method like this. This example was just to show how methods with and without return type could be utilized. Obviously, you can also create a method that takes no arguments at all and just does its thing without input from outside. In general, if you feel like you have duplicate code scattered around through your application, it would probably be good to extract this code and put it in a reusable method. For today's exercise, you have two tasks again. First, write a method that determines if a number is even or odd and logs the result to the output log. For the second task, write two methods. One that returns the maximum of two numbers and another method that returns the minimum of two numbers. Like always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, see you next time.